Gentlemen, this is the coin. This side is heads. This side is tails. JB, it's your call. Call it in the air.
I call heads.
Johnny Futures, it's your call. Call it in the air.
Tails never fails.
And welcome to episode 1 of the Heads or Tails podcast. I'm your host, JB. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that follow button for future episodes of the Heads or Tails podcast. So first, let me give you some background on the genesis of this podcast. Myself and my longtime podcast colleague, Johnny Futures, have been doing a version of the Heads or Tails podcast for, say, the last 2 years. There's a subject, we throw it out there, we do our own episodes, we share it. A lot of times we share it with our buddies, get their perspective. And one day we're chatting, we get onto the subject. We said, why don't we just start our own podcast? Get this out to the masses. And that's the genesis of the Heads or Tails podcast. I'm going to take the reins in episode 1. I'll throw out a subject. I'll encourage you, the listener, to leave comments. Futures does not know what the subject is. He's going to learn it firsthand when he listens to the episode. Then he's going to give you his perspective in episode 2. Episode 3 will then flip to his subject. He'll give you his episode. I'll then answer it. Leave comments along the way. Let us know what your perspective is on all these subjects and so on and so forth. So we're really excited. Glad you joined us again. Make sure you hit that follow button and let's get episode 1 started. When I started thinking about topics to pick for episode 1, I have to admit, I felt a little twinge of pressure there. You always want to start off on the right foot. Let's find a subject matter that has a great proportion of discussion to the subject matter, great content in the subject matter. And then it hit me one day. Not sure why I thought this to myself, but I said, records are made to be broken. So there's records out there in sports that probably will never be broken. But what's the greatest sports record in your opinion? Very subjective, so we could get a lot of dialogue here. And I'll tell you which one I settled on and why. So today's episode 1 of the Heads or Tails podcast, your favorite all-time sports record. The first record I came across in my research was Cy Young. 815 games started from 1890 to 1911. 749 complete games. Now that's a record that should never be broken because the structure of baseball has changed so much you don't see complete games anymore, but not my favorite. How about Pete Rose's 4,256 hits? Not my favorite. DiMaggio, 56-game hitting streak, one of my favorites. An interesting fact about that hitting streak, he hits 56 games in a row, he goes hitless, then he starts another mini streak of 16 more games. Amazing. I'm sure my buddies that are listening to this are saying, you know what? He's going to settle on either a Dolphins or an Orioles record. Probably the perfect season record is 17-0. Then they're probably saying, well, if it's not 17-0 in the Dolphins, it's got to be Cal's consecutive game streak of 2,632, breaking Lou Gehrig's record. Now, for me, there's a lot of joy in this record. Number 1, it's an Oriole. Number 2, the Oriole fans have something to hang over the Yanks, as thin as it may be. But the Oriole fans for eternity, because this record is not going to be broken, has the Iron Horse. And the Yanks, they have the paper pony.
How are you?
There's so many more records I could cite here. But if it's not DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak, if it's not Perfectville's 17-0 for my Dolphins, if it's not the Iron Horse at 2632, then what is it? Well, I'll tell you, my favorite all-time sports record happened in 1961-1962 NBA season. Some data points before I tell you what the record actually is. In 1961-1962 season in the NBA, they played 80 games, not the 82 they're playing right now. A regulation game was 48 minutes, and an overtime was 5 minutes. In that season, there was a player that averaged 48 and a half minutes. And you're sitting there saying, well, wait a minute, you just told me 48 minutes is a regulation game. He's averaging 48 and a half, and that's right. He averaged more minutes a game than a regulation game, which means there was overtime. And that player is Wilt Chamberlain. He averaged 48 and a half minutes a game in that season. It's incredible. You get rotations now in the NBA. People are playing 30, 34, 38, 40 minutes. There's no one that's averaging 48 minutes a game. Let's go through his game logs. It's really interesting when you look at each game. The first 23 games played that season, he plays every minute, 48 minutes a game. In game 24, it's a triple overtime 151 to 147 loss. He plays 63 minutes, so every minute of regulation, every minute of overtime. Oh, and by the way, 78 points.
How are you?
He follows that up, games 25 to 32, 48 minutes. In game 33, double overtime, he plays 58 minutes, so all of regulation, both overtime periods, scores 59. In games 34 to 38, he plays all 48 minutes. Now in game 39, he only plays 40 minutes, scores 36 points, but sits 8 of the 48 minutes. The balance of that season, games 40 to 80, has 4 overtime games. In the non-overtime games, he plays every minute. In the 4 overtime games, he plays every minute. So out of 80 games that season, he plays in all but 8 minutes. Oh, and by the way, a game side note here. In game 76, a 169 to 147 win wasn't overtime. Straight 48 minutes, scoring 169 points in the win, giving up 147. He scores 100 points.
How are you?
Absolutely incredible. Out of 80 games, he plays all but 8 minutes, including overtime games. But he's not done. They make the playoffs that year. They win the first round 3-2, so 5 more games, and then eventually lose to the Celtics 4-3 in the finals. So another 12 games. He plays every minute in 12 playoff games. So think about that. 92 total games. In 91 of them, whether they were just a straight regulation 48-minute game or included overtime, he played every minute. And the one game he didn't, he broke 40 minutes. He played 40 minutes out of the 48. So to me, this was the greatest record. He played 48 and a half minutes on average per night. Could you imagine being the coach and having the luxury of that talent on your team and never having to sub him in or out? My goodness, unbelievable. For that season, he averaged 50.4 points per game and 25.7 rebounds a game. But here's 2 things about that season that I found fascinating. Number 1, he averaged 39.5 shots a game. I would have thought his shooting percentage would have hovered around 60%. He shot 50.6% from the field. I would have thought it would have been a little better than that. And number 2, I would have thought averaging 50.4 points per game, pulling down 25 rebounds a game, averaging 48.5 minutes a game, and going to the finals, losing to the Celtics 4-3, that he was a shoo-in to be the MVP, but he wasn't. He came in second and lost to Bill Russell. Could you imagine being around in that time, the type of debate that would have went on? Who was the MVP that season? Russell averaged 18.9 points a game and 23.6 rebounds, but got the MVP over Chamberlain. Incredible. So for me, the greatest sports record, in my opinion, is Wilt Chamberlain's 48.5 minutes played per game per night. And for me, that closes episode 1, my favorite sports record of all time. Now I turn it over to Johnny Futures. What say you? What's your favorite, your all-time favorite sports record? And I ask you, the listener, as well, what's yours? Leave us a comment. Make sure you follow. Appreciate you tuning in. See you in episode 4.
How are you?